What is going on, guys? I'm your boy Sally, and today I'm back for another nerdy rant, but as opposed to it being like a normal nerdy rant where there's a topic to talk about or something along those lines, it is literally going to be my Star Wars in review. I'm just going to call it a nerdy rant because it has been like 2-3 weeks since I've done one, and I feel like you guys deserve one. So I did go and watch Star Wars on Wednesday because it was my birthday on Wednesday. I went out with my girlfriend, went for an amazing meal at a place called the Breakfast Club in London. I do highly recommend it. Get the Big American if you do go. It was amazing. It was so nice. You lot have no idea. The potatoes they cooked, I don't know what they did to them, but absolutely insane. And afterwards, we went to watch Star Wars, but we didn't do it like the normal cinema experience. We went to this place called The Lounge, which is something that only is at one Odeon, only available at like one Odeon in London, which was the cinema we went to. And basically, you literally sit in like massive reclining armchairs. You can order food whilst you're watching the movie. You can order drinks while you're watching the movie, and it was amazing. Like, it was so nice having that experience along with watching one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. And yes, I do thoroughly mean that in terms of how it's directed, how it was made. Not just because I am a Star Wars fanboy. It was one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. But yeah, we're going to dive straight into this review. It is going to be a full review, spoilers included. I know the hype train sort of died down because the film's been out for over a month now, like a month and 6 days or something along those lines. So this probably won't do like as well view-wise as my other videos have recently, but I do feel like I need to do one, get it out of the way, keep up with my like Star Wars hype, which does still exist. I'm wearing like a Star Wars hoodie for Christ's sake. I have my BB-8 droid sat on my desk, and it is the actual like BB-8. You can control it and stuff. It does move around, it does make the noises, you can see holograms on it and things like that. That was the present I got off my girlfriend, which was awesome. I also have a massive BB-8 balloon up here, which I'll show up a picture of on the screen at some point just so you guys can see it. It's a massive BB-8 helium balloon, and cycling home with that thing yesterday was so funny because it was just flailing around on my bike whilst I was trying to cycle home. But anyway, enough of that. We're going to get straight into this, and let me just start off by saying I personally loved this movie. Not just because I am a Star Wars fanboy, I just genuinely enjoyed it. You could tell it was a movie made for fanboys by a fanboy. J.J. Abrams has always been like a fan of Star Wars. He's always loved it, and that's why he originally turned down the opportunity to direct. But then he came back, spoke to George Lucas and Disney, and decided that it was the best option for it because he wanted to push the new generation of Star Wars forward. He wanted to bring back Star Wars to its best possible place, like the original trilogy had in like back when Star Wars was Star Wars, and not this over animated, poorly directed, terribly written script that was the prequel trilogy. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the prequel trilogies, like, just as a fan of Star Wars, but the whole concept of them was boring, it was drawn out, it was long, and the overall direction just wasn't very good at all. Like, George Lucas is not like an exceptional director by any means. He'll probably admit that as well. But enough about the past. We need to talk about the present and the future. And what happened in this movie, effectively people are saying it's a rewritten version of episode 4, because you have the new Starkiller base, which is effectively a Death Star, just a lot bigger than a Death Star. And yes, it is like a concept that is quite easy to agree with, but I feel like that was needed. We needed a platform to be at a stage where Star Wars was at its best, and that was when the first 2 were released, and that was what people wanted. It was what, like, personally as a fanboy, I wanted something along those lines. I wanted to be like, stick to the original trilogy as best as possible, keep it really similar to that sort of storyline. And what they did with the original characters as well is they didn't go overboard with them. They didn't involve them too much. They weren't like massive essential parts of the story that were needed for like further events in the trilogy that they are planning on releasing for it. They really like showed off the new characters quite well. The main 3 anyway, like Poe, Finn and Rey, they were shown off amazing. Like, they were introduced really well. They had like banter like the original 3 had. They were flowing, and it was just such a nice experience to go and watch a Star Wars movie that I genuinely loved, because it had been so long since. We'd waited 10 years for that movie, and it just didn't disappoint me at all. It really didn't. So thank you, JJ, for like the movie you gave us. Thank you to Lucasfilm, Disney, and Bad Robot Productions, because it was just so amazing. But with everything, it did have its flaws. It wasn't like, there were just certain aspects that I didn't really like Captain Phasma. This really hyped up character played by Gwendolyn Christie, an amazing actress, well-known voice, like a well-known face, and this character was essentially supposed to be like the new Boba Fett. Like, basically, that's what I saw it as. I saw it as like this character would be the new Boba Fett. Not too many lines, not too ridiculous, but someone who people would fear, someone who couldn't be pushed around, and she basically was that. Like, she starts off on Jakku as this badass character, like leading the stormtroopers to destroy this village, and then like you can tell she has control over the stormtroopers because of the way she treats like Finn before he goes rogue, telling him like to report to her and put his helmet back on, things like that. And then later in the movie, the next time you see the character, she's being pushed around by Finn, and they throw her in a trash compactor, and that's it. She takes the shield down in the Star Destroyer and disappears. Like, did she die? Is she still alive? Like, I don't know what's happened to that character. Obviously, I personally feel she is still alive, just because it would be stupid for this character to have been so hyped and then just thrown away like that easily. So in terms of character development, I personally feel they need to do a lot more with her, because she looked like such a badass character. She seemed so badass, and then it like just became a letdown, like the way things went with her character. But like I said, the movie couldn't be perfect. It does start off really well. Like, immediately you're thrown into action. Like, you're on Jakku, and Finn, like, or not Finn, Poe receives the map from Lark Van Tacker, I believe it's called, something along those lines. But he gives the map to Poe. Poe like is about to get off the planet, and then the stormtroopers come, the First Order arrive, and basically like just destroy everything. They like completely ransack the village. They kill people, kill innocent civilians, and Kylo Ren is introduced, and he talks to the character who gave Poe the map. He knows about the Jedi, he knows about the Force, and he sort of hints at like Kylo wasn't always this dark, sinister character. I can't remember the line off the top of my head. It was something about like before the Knights of Ren, how there was light in him or something along those lines. How he knew him as a boy, not as Kylo Ren. And he's introduced as this really badass character, kills him on the spot, and then when Poe shoots his blaster at him, he stops the blaster shot mid-air. And immediately after seeing that, I was like, alright, cool. I was gobsmacked. I was sat there, the first time I watched it, I had goosebumps. I was like, okay, Jesus Christ, what is going on? And then you're immediately introduced to this banter from Poe. He's dragged over by some stormtroopers, put down in front of Kylo. Awkward silence, and then Finn just Poe pops out the line. Do I speak now? Do you speak now? What's going on? He talks. And it's like, I was sat there just like creasing inside, because like I wanted to keep quiet because it's a theater. Not everyone was laughing, because like I don't know why, but the banter was there from the offset, and I feel like Poe is going to be similar to Han Solo in that aspect. He's not a Force user, he's not someone who's Force sensitive. He does obviously know about it and believe in it. He is an insane pilot, and he wants to lead the rebellion into better things, basically. And then you're introduced to Finn in that scene as well, as FN2817, I believe his like stormtrooper name was. You see him basically going nuts. Like, his first battle, his first thing that he's drawn into as a stormtrooper in terms of actual gunfights, and with other people fighting back at him, and you immediately see that he didn't really want to be there, which was weird, because that was another issue I had, because he's a stormtrooper trained effectively from birth, dragged away from a family that he won't ever know, and he goes rogue on his first mission, even though he's been trained for like 18, 19 years to do exactly what he was supposed to do in that situation, what the other stormtroopers do in that situation. And it was like strange that that's like somehow something triggered in him randomly, and he decided he didn't want to do that anymore. But I mean, it was needed for the story to continue, for him to go on to meet Rey and to meet Poe. But it was quite an odd choice. Like it could have been done differently, but that's one of the imperfections of an otherwise perfect movie. Then we're introduced to Rey, scavenger on Jakku. She runs into BB-8, and she's the character who can, again, similar to Han Solo, understand like other beings, other creatures, droids. Like she can understand BB-8, she can understand Chewie, whereas Finn can't. I'm presuming Poe can, because he's like BB-8. He's BB-8's master. He effectively owns BB-8, and it will make sense for him to be able to understand him. Otherwise, there's no way their relationship works. But other things I really enjoyed about it, some of the shots were insane. You obviously had like some of J.J. Abrams' lens flares that would pop up randomly. You'd see them all over the place. And then like the scene where they shoot the Starkiller base, and you have Kylo on his destroyer just staring out at it, and that shot, when I saw it in the trailer, I didn't exactly know what it was. I don't think anyone did, but seeing that in the movie was just ridiculous. And then other characters I really liked Maz Kanata. Her character was really well introduced. She is a Force user, which is quite interesting, because it's nice to see where her character can go in terms of Jedi, because she actually announces herself as new Jedi. She understands how the Force works, she understands the way it works, she understands how the world works in terms of being compatible with the Force. So it's nice to see where her character could potentially go from here, because like her palace, her restaurant, whatever it was, it got completely destroyed by the First Order. And you don't really see her at the end of the movie, but her introduction was really like well done. She's a character who they didn't really put too much into for this movie, but I feel like will be developed over the next two, which I'm hoping is the case, like I said earlier, with Captain Phasma, because that was one of the disappointments. In terms of the rest of the movie, it was very similar to Episode 4. You had the Starkiller base, like I said, and it had a weak spot. They took down the shields and then were effectively doing what they did in the other movies. They'd go in a trench, they'd run through it. Poe snuck in a really tiny gap and just destroyed the defense system of it, like destroyed the oscillators, and it was blown up. Another thing I really liked was the fact that they didn't do too much with Supreme Leader Snoke, so we do have quite a lot to learn about him. Andy Serkis, the actor who played him, I do believe he knows who he is, but he can't reveal anything, obviously, because that would ruin the next like movie or two for a lot of people, in fact. But I really like what they did with the character. They've left it open to a lot of interpretation. There's a lot of theories going around about it, like he could be Darth Plagueis, Darth Vader, like as like a Force being. I'm not sure how the Darth Vader theory would work, but there was something about how their scars looked similar, so it could potentially be him. But then, yeah, I don't really know about the character. I don't really want to dive too far into the theories, because I don't really want to believe too many of them. I want Supreme Leader Snoke to effectively be his own character, and there not to be like a massive reveal. But if they do what they did with the original trilogy and follow it along to a similar sort of story, there'll be a massive reveal about who a certain character is. And it could be with Rey, like who her family is. It could be like Luke's new connection to Rey and anything like that, basically. But then, talking more about Kylo, like aspects I didn't like about his character were that he was effectively like Darth Vader during Episode 2, where he wasn't like as powerful as he wanted to be. He didn't have the respect he wanted, and he effectively had a bitch fit. Like when a stormtrooper told him, or one of the commanders of the First Order told him that the droid got away, Rey and Finn got away, he just randomly started slashing everything up with his lightsaber. And I didn't really like seeing that scene at all, because he's supposed to be this character with respect and grandeur and someone who is respected, and he obviously wouldn't be if that's how he reacts to everything. So that was one annoying aspect again. But other than that, in my own personal opinion, everything was done perfectly, apart from Captain Phasma. The way Kylo Ren was as a character, like his younger self, like coming out or whatever it was, I didn't particularly like that. I did like the fact that it was similar to episode 4 because it gave a basis for the new trilogy, and I really like the way the new characters were introduced. The new trio of characters were so well introduced, and it was so nice, like, and refreshing as a Star Wars fan to not have the burden of the prequel trilogies like hanging over me anymore. There's not too much else to talk about apart from obviously the massive spoiler of Han Solo dying. I sort of saw it coming when you found out that Han and Leia were Kylo's parents. That is what effectively said to me, alright, Han's not going to be in it anymore. Because Harrison Ford, as an actor, he wanted the character to have died off years ago. He didn't really want to do the full original trilogy, to be honest. He only wanted to do the first one. That's all he was contracted to do, but somehow George Lucas persuaded him, the directors persuaded him to keep on, and he did. And I think personally this was his way of saying, I'm done with the franchise now, to be honest, because he is getting quite old. He's probably aged the worst out of the three, and I feel like it was needed for one of the characters to die off to like allow the fresh meat or the like new characters to grow, to be honest. Because it effectively left Chewie on his own with Rey so they can develop together. Finn was left right at the end in a coma, I believe. He wouldn't die because otherwise it was pointless introducing him, but I really like the stage that Star Wars is currently at. I really like the fact that it has been, like, the next one has been pushed back for a whole nother year. Or not a whole nother year, they pushed it back by like 7 months because they're rewriting chunks of the script. And like rumors going around are that it was because they were introducing too many characters originally and they didn't really want to do that. They wanted to completely rewrite it so the characters they already had made could be developed, they could continue to grow, and the storyline could follow them and their progression through the story, as opposed to throwing in a load of random other characters that weren't necessary to the story, that weren't particularly needed. And a lot of people are up in arms about it because we were told it was May 26th and now it's December 15th. But what people don't seem to realise is we do have other Star Wars movies coming out. We have plenty of Star Wars coming out. There is going to be one effectively every year because we have Rogue One coming out next year in December, I believe, or this year in December even. And then we have the Han Solo anthology movie coming out after episode 8. So we have plenty of Star Wars to come. We just need to keep it one movie at a time and stop stressing about the fact that there's another 7 months delay on Star Wars episode 8, because we do have plenty of Star Wars coming, like I said, and the stage it is currently at, I do really want to see the new one, don't get me wrong, but I like the fact that they're taking more time to do it, because nothing can get rushed, no creative ideas can be left out, and it will make it a much better movie overall. Fingers crossed anyway. That's what I'm hoping the extra time will do. So I'm hoping the extra time will allow to happen, basically. But yeah, this was not exactly the review I wanted to do. The whole idea of this was to talk about the movie itself, but I sort of dived more into what I liked about it, more what I didn't like, and my thoughts on like the delay of the next release. So yeah, it was something a little bit different. I hope you guys enjoyed either way. This was Nerdy Rants episode 4, I believe, and it was a Star Wars episode 7 review, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, as always, I've been your boy Sully. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.